It takes a couple of years of living in a city to grasp the profound impact that certain things have in your daily life. I've lived in Paris for 5 years, so I'll be sharing with you 5 things that I wish I knew sooner before I moved to Paris. So the first point is learning French. When I came to Paris, I spoke very little French. So of course, if you're in an international university, it's going to be easier because you will be surrounded with people who speak English. So making friends is easy this way. But outside of university, you will still need to go out to do your groceries or go to doctors sometimes, and this is when things will get hard because most of the people here do not speak English. It's not just a stereotype, but I've experienced it firsthand. So I would really advise you to learn French at least till A2 level. I think if you have an A2 level, you can still communicate with people with basic French. Here, if people don't speak English, then they will just say no to you directly. They won't go out of their way to try to speak with you in English. So it's all up to you to learn French. My second point is to look for cheaper accommodation by looking at places outside of Paris. So when I first decided to move to Paris, I thought I would live in the city next to the Eiffel Tower. But when I saw the prices, I immediately realized that's not going to happen. So I would really advise you to look at places outside of the city, because if you want to live in the city, the prices are going to be really expensive and you would end up just spending almost all your money on rent. And it's really not worth it because the places are smaller and more expensive in the city, whereas in most of the suburbs, the places are much bigger and cheaper. So if you're on a student budget, I would really advise you to look at places in the suburbs. And I've already made a video on how to find an apartment in Paris that I will link up here above and also in the description box below. But I quickly realized that saving money on rent is really a big necessity if you're going to live in Paris. My next point is that in Paris, sometimes people can seem a bit intimidating. I'm not talking about the people you meet in universities, but actually people like receptionists or people who work in the prefecture, for example. If I would request or ask something, I would hear these phrases often like "c'est pas mon boulot," "c'est pas prêt," "c'est pas possible." And when I would hear these things, I just thought, okay, that means it's a no. And I would not argue back. But what I learned the hard way is that people will always say these things because they don't want to work. I don't want to generalize, but this has been my experience in most of the cases. But from my experience, what I learned is that I have to stand up for myself. They are not going to go out of their way to help me in something. If I want something, I need to get it right there and then. Even if they say no, I have to fight back and stand up for my rights because this is France. People stand up for their rights. So this is something that I had to learn the hard way because I never got my work done before. You need to push them to actually get your stuff done, or else they won't really go out of their way to do it. I came to Paris when I was 18, so when someone was rude to me or if someone just said no directly, I would take it very personally and I wouldn't really fight for my rights. And this is something that I had to learn. And of course, it will be intimidating if you're not fluent in French, because in most of these places, you would need to speak French with them. But even with your broken French, you should stand up for yourself, because this is the only way that things will get done in France. Another important thing that I wish I knew was that making French friends here would be really tough. I've already heard that integrating into a French group is hard and they take time to actually open up to others, but once you're in, you're friends for life. I haven't really experienced that firsthand, so I can't really comment on that. So if you're new to the city, you should join classes of the activities that you like. So you could join dance classes or go to the gym, yoga, or even tennis. This way you can actually meet new people and make other friends outside of school. And you should also join some Facebook groups. I'll link some of them down in the description box below, which could be helpful for you to meet new people. They have regular meetups, so this way you can also meet new people in the city. My last point is to save all of your documents and papers that you get from any administration. Could need these papers for apartment hunting, job searching, changing your nationality, or healthcare and retirement. In France, keeping all your documents is very, very essential. If you're asking for a carte de séjour, for example, they would ask you for 6 months of your payslip and 6 months of your rent receipts, as well as electricity bills. France is still really heavy on documentation and keeping all the papers together. So if you're thinking of coming to Paris, be sure to check this video out. It could also be useful for you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!